The crazy part of domestic violence incidents is how quickly they can go from calm to insane. Hi everyone, welcome to today's badge cam lesson here at Active Self Protection. I'm your host, John Correa.
I'm your co-host, Mike Williver. Today's video comes to us from right here in Phoenix, Arizona.
Firearms Legal Protection is who I trust to help me after a use of force incident. If you're a Firearms Legal Protection member, I will also be on your team as a consulting expert, and you can attend our monthly Active Self Protection training seminars for free. Check out all they offer to their members at the link below. Phoenix PD has responded here to a call for domestic violence, and they are here. This is a man, and I don't know if a legally married wife, common law, something like that, their children. The neighbor has called the cops for significant, problems going on, and the officers are investigating. You're going to see here after just a minute, the second officer is going to come up and say that they have probable cause to make an arrest for domestic violence. Everything's going to go squirrely. Let's listen in on the badge cams.
Yeah, can you come towards 15 Henry and also is fire needed out there for any reason?
I want to die. I want to die. I want to die.
And do we need fire?
I want to die. I want to die.
Stop.
I want to die.
You're not Anthony. You're not Anthony.
I didn't think there's a guy in too.
Stop it.
Promise you.
Okay, a neighbor was trying to call them. Unfortunately, they come here coming 20 here on the hobby.
We know the police are not.
Wait for this officer to close dinner. Close dinner. Oh, kill me, please. Kill me, please. Kill me, please. What we got? This one. Still trying to figure it out. All right. Yeah, we got number one right now. Yeah. All right. Hey, Reynolds, just stop, dude. Just stop messing around. Stop. All right. Okay. Put your hands behind your back. No. No. 15, Henry. Oh, you're please. Hey, take left. I got it right. He's got a gun. Hey, put it down. Hey, put it down. Put it down. 515 Henry, 999. Oh, fuck.
Put your hands up!
Put your hands up! Put your hands up!
It's fake! It's fake! It's fake! It's fake!
I got you. We got a gun! Hey, put it down! Hey, put it down! Put it down!
Put your hands up! Put your hands up!
This is a picture of the firearm that the man picked up from the grass. Turns out it was a replica firearm. Completely irrelevant. We'll talk about it in the lessons. The officer that shot at him shot effectively. They did take this guy to an ambulance that was waiting after they responded, but he died of his injuries. The family is decrying this shooting and has put in an intent to sue. We'll talk about it. So I'm just gonna say it right here, Mike. The family's filed a lawsuit, and there's a link in the description to a news story about how he was such a good guy. But literally, they were about to arrest him for credible assault during domestic violence charges. And listen, maybe everybody has a bad day, but that's not indicative of a good guy.
Nope.
When police are called to a domestic violence call, these ones go south all the time. We're seeing that here. This guy, clearly when you were listening, he started talking about, I'm gonna die today, I need you to kill me, please kill me. And these kind of calls go crazy. Please, friends, it's a tough time in our world, in our nation. Please go get the mental health care help that you need, handle your problems, get to the marriage therapy, because when the cops start showing up because we start putting hands on each other, this is the kind of stuff that happens and we should expect because this guy pulled a gun on cops.
Yeah, and we talk about getting a mental health care. It needs to start early. It needs to start as soon as you realize you might be having a problem. Because if you wait too long, it just gets harder and harder and worse, and your brain stops having a self-defense mechanism. It tells you don't do dumb stuff like this. Yeah, I can't reemphasize what you just said enough, John. Great point.
And listen, there's no shame in saying, hey, our marriage needs some work. Our relationship is suffering. We need some help. Now let's talk about the policing angle of this. I know they decide at this point, the second officer comes up, says, yeah, I've got probable cause for an arrest. We're gonna make an arrest. So, hey man, quit messing around, come here. Now that's a pretty big dude here, and the officer decides, okay man, put your hands behind your back, you're under arrest. And I don't know what he could have done better here necessarily, Mike, but because this guy is out in space, if he's not compliant about putting his hands behind his back, the chances of you getting him to do that out in space like this is basically nil.
It's pretty low, John. I did this a lot of time, not exactly this, because I didn't do this, but take people into custody. Something I did with regularity and almost always successfully. Here's the problem. If you have a person you already can tell he's non-compliant, he's not wanting to communicate with you, he's conspicuously ignoring all the things that he's doing, are signaling, telegraphing to the officer, this is not going to go well, I'm not going to go quietly. So maybe consider, and trainers, hear me when I say this, consider give the guy some commands while he's out in space. Don't walk up to him necessarily right away. Say, hey man, I need you to turn around and put your hands behind your back. You can do that from 10 feet away, and you're still close enough you can move in if you absolutely have to, far enough away that he can't immediately assault you. So think about getting this person at a position of disadvantage ahead of time. Now eventually, that's not going to work because he's not going to do what you tell him, but at least give that a shot first. That way you've got other options other than hands-on.
This guy, obviously at this point too, Mike, he either found that airsoft pistol sitting there or replica gun, whatever, or he staged it there. And we'll never know because the guy died in this instance. But recognize, okay, some people are gonna be like, well, wait a minute, was it a fake gun or a real gun? In low light conditions like this, nobody's gonna be able to tell that difference. Number two, I think that even if it was a replica gun, you can't make those decisions in split seconds. Thank God the officer saw that. Number three, maybe, that flashlight that he has in his hand is useful for identifying things like what's he doing with his hands.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. I'm not sure why the light's not aimed at this guy, but it's not for whatever reason. John and I always we call it a first watch before we sit down and make these videos. And one of the things we talked about was that gun. Did he stage it? Did he stumble across it? At this point, it doesn't really matter all that much. The fact is he has a gun in his hand, and we talk about low light and not being able to identify things, use your flashlight. I got news for you. That gun looked real enough that had it been high noon and there was no shade, I still wouldn't have been able to tell necessarily that wasn't a real gun. So you have to treat it like it is. And the problem now for law enforcement is and John can back me up, you've got pink guns, you've got teal guns, you've got, guns that the people paint the orange, safety thing on the end of the muzzle, all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's really hard for an officer to tell necessarily what exactly is the person holding, what am I dealing with, is this a deadly threat or not? So in a case like this where the guy has already been violent with somebody else, it is now not listening to your commands, he picks up a gun, man, your options are getting fewer and fewer by the second.
I also want to recognize here, okay, the officer has put his shots on target, this guy goes down. Do you notice that the officer has a light on his pistol? Okay, so having a light on your gun is great for officers. It opens up your holster choices for sure, but you gotta know how to use that light. You gotta practice with it. You gotta actually get that gun out, turn the light on, and utilize it, because right now, his handheld light makes for a great puppet show on the wall there, but it's not doing as good a job as he would like to actually illuminate the threat that could still exist downrange. Whereas his pistol-mounted light would do a very good job of that. So you want your pistol-mounted light to be bright, you want it to be very good. Please, get one of the high-quality ones. Don't skimp on this. Please, God, get rid of the O-lights in your world because they are crap and they blow up. And get a higher quality light than that. Streamlight, Surefire, Mod Light, Cloud Defensive, one of those guys depending on your budget. And I'm not affiliated with any of those, but have one of those and know how to use it. Train. Make sure that you understand the training piece of it, because if you don't understand that and you've never used it and never really worked on that in low light conditions, what'll happen is what happens here is you end up sticking your handheld flashlight under your armpit and now you're doing a puppet show rather than really illuminating the targets that are around you. Now, as we talk about the second officer here, I think that generally the second officer is doing a pretty darn good job. Although, I will say my butthole puckers just a little bit here as our primary officer comes up and starts advancing on the threat, and our secondary officer sees that threat coming as well. And then as he's driving in, now I'm just gonna say this is an argument, in my opinion, to use a pistol mounted optic on your pistol and to use what we call a soft focus, that you're not looking hard at a front sight, not looking at your dot, that you're looking through your optics, seeing your target and opening your vision up to what's around you so that if he starts to encroach on your space, you see it in your peripheral. Now you learn that stuff in class, and you learn that stuff by going well above and beyond your agency training. You get to the high quality pistol mounted optics instructors, that's where you really see those things. And that kind of training is an important thing in this kind of instance.
Concur 100%. One of the beauties, John, as you alluded to, of a rear, they call them rear red dot or whatever, an optic on a pistol, really is your ability to open up your field of vision. And some people need to close their non-dominant eye when they shoot. I think the pistol-mounted optic really does away with the need for that. You can leave both of your eyes open all of the time, and that dot is only going to fall under your dominant eye. You're going to see it, and you're going to put it where it needs to go, which is on the target. And it does allow for this. So just to expand on what John said, if you are using, if you're using traditional iron sights or steel sights or whatever, the three sights like this, the problem is you have to focus pretty hard on those sights, and that doesn't allow you to look beyond the end of your gun at what you're actually looking at. We had another video where a guy jumped out of a car, dropped a gun and ran. And the officer that was dealing with him had iron sights. And we speculated, and I think correctly, that he couldn't tell that guy had dropped the gun because he was rightly up and on target and focused on the potential threat. Here's the takeaways from today's video, folks. First of all, if you are in this position, if you find yourself hearing things, if you find yourself wanting to hurt yourself or others or whatever, the minute that starts in your brain, it's incumbent on you and it's imperative that you get help, get some help, talk to someone, get some therapy, get some counseling, and get your head right. Beyond that, as a police officer responding to something like this is what can happen at a moment's notice. I didn't time it, but I'm willing to bet the time from, hey man, come here, you're under arrest, to shots being fired was maybe 10 seconds tops. That's how fast this entire thing changed from a pretty run-of-the-mill DV arrest to having to shoot somebody, and that person ended up dying. But I think at the end of the day, John, these officers did everything they could do to avoid the situation, but at the end of the day, they had to shoot this man and cover their ass.